Sudiksha Konanki is a 20-year-old junior at the University of Pittsburgh. She's originally from Virginia's Loudoun County and is an Indian citizen and a legal permanent U.S. resident. She was vacationing with a group of 6 female friends from her school. In the early morning hours of March 6th, surveillance footage captured Sudiksha leaving the Riu Republica Hotel lobby around 4:15 a.m., accompanied by friends and 2 other men. The group proceeded to the beach. While her friends returned to the hotel at around 5:55 a.m., Sudiksha did not accompany them and has been missing since. The disappearance coincided with a power outage at the resort, which prompted guests to head to the beach. The Dominican National Police are re-interviewing individuals who were in proximity to Sudiksha at the time of her disappearance. Search efforts involving drones, helicopters, and detection dogs have not yet found her. The U.S. State Department, FBI, and the Embassy of India are collaborating with local authorities. Sudiksha's parents have traveled to Punta Cana, urging a broader investigation beyond just looking at this as an accidental drowning. Meanwhile, concerned people in 3 different countries are all wondering, where is Sudiksha? But first, big breaking news in the Delphi murders. For the first time since Abby Williams and Libby German disappeared in 2017 and were later found brutally murdered, we have new insight into the moment they were approached by the so-called bridge guy. The 43-second video recorded by Libby has been released to the public. We have it, and we will show it to you tonight. This is a big night, folks. A big night. You know, I know, we all have been invested in the Delphi case, and only a few people, for a short moment, got to see that video. Tonight, we're going to show it to you. But let's begin with the way this whole case has gone from the beginning in the state of Indiana. Like, no transparency whatsoever. Like, basically, what you're looking at is the level of transparency that the state of Indiana had in this investigation, limiting what the public knew when the case was unsolved. And then when they said they did solve it, it was with information that they had right out of the box. So there were problems with the investigation and the communication in this case. And then when it came time for the court case, obviously, no cameras. We don't want you to see it. We don't want you to hear any of the evidence in this case. And since the case has been over, everything still has been sort of tied up with a bow. Most states, the trial's over, the defendant's been sentenced, you know, some of the evidence in the case becomes public. Not in this case. There's just been no transparency. And I think for Abby and Libby, they deserve better here, because the lack of transparency and the way the investigation was done, I think, slowed down the case and slowed down the ability to attempt to hold someone responsible. That's number one. Number two, there are still questions. And those questions all exist because nobody saw or heard the case. And this is a case where people, and there are other suspects, and the way the public has interpreted it, there's really no trust in what happened there because of all the strange circumstances, which again, come back to the transparency of investigators and then the court and the judge in this case. Now, Richard Allen was convicted. He was convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. The jury did not deliberate that long. They were convinced. Well, they saw the evidence. I didn't, you didn't, unless you were in Delphi for this. So what does that mean? Like, why was he convicted? Well, one of the biggest pieces of evidence in all of this was the video of the bridge guy. And a little piece of that video had been made public while there was still a search for a killer, and they're looking for the public's help. Well, now the bridge guy video has been released, and we are going to see it. Now, it's 43 seconds long. You have to listen very closely. You have to watch very closely. So let's get to it, and let's play that video for you right now.
See, this is the path that we are on. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
And that was it. You heard the downhill at the end. It was kind of faint in the background. I heard it. There were also some whispers by Abby and Libby. And it seemed that they were not necessarily scared, but maybe very aware of this man on the bridge and probably a little concerned, but then they don't run away. They're looking for a path, and then he is there. Let's get some more insight. Joining us tonight, Court TV senior producer Barbara McDonald, who was at Richard Allen's trial, has covered this case from day one. Barbara, now all of us get to see this video. I want to go through it piece by piece. In the beginning, I hear a whisper, and it sounds like it could be coming from Abby. Did you hear a whisper? And if so, what did you hear in the beginning of that video?
I've seen this video now maybe 10 times, and what I hear is Abby saying something to the effect of, is he still there? Is he right there? Something like that. One of the things the state said that one of the girls says very clearly in the video is, that be a gun. And I don't hear either girl say that in this video. We also, Vinnie, don't know which version of the video this is. There was the original extracted version from Libby's phone, but then there were multiple versions that were enhanced. Some were stabilized. My understanding is initially the video might have been upside down. So we don't know if this is that original file. This was put out by the defense on a website that they're saying they're going to start putting this information out for transparency in this case. Richard Allen's appellate attorneys indicated today they are filing that appeal. They filed their notice. So this is likely all gearing up for that effort.
And, you know, as I watched the video, I'm wondering why it wasn't released in total from the beginning. I don't understand why, other than they have the ability, I guess, to not release it. So it seems that, yeah, there is an acknowledgement that he is there. I want to put a still frame up on the screen, which is from the video, which gives us some idea of the distance between Abby and the bridge guy. And when we take a look at that, I think we'll have a better idea of where everyone is. But it seems like they are relatively close to one another on that bridge. It's not... There's not a huge distance between the two, between Abby and the bridge guy who's right behind him.
Exactly, and that was a point that a lot of people picked up on at trial, because some of the people who viewed the video felt that he was much, much further behind Abby, and that there was perhaps an unattainable distance that he would have had to have made up to catch up to Abby. This video, from my perspective, shows that he is behind her some distance, but he's not really that far from her in this still photo that you can see. And you do notice in the video that Libby is already on the south side of the land. She is no longer on the bridge when she's recording this video. And then Abby manages to get off the bridge and sort of run past Libby and then stop there next to her. And they sort of wait for this man, telling him, you know, there's no path. So we would have to go down here, and they sort of wait for an answer and a direction from him. So it makes you really wonder what that interaction was between the three of them prior to this video being made.
Yeah, I want to play the little piece of the end of it now, and what we're going to do is we're going to boost the audio a little bit of the bridge guy. Let's take a look and a listen.
See, this is the path that we are on. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
So the interpretation of that back and forth when they're talking about the path, are you interpreting it that they're already acknowledged that the bridge guy is going to make them go down a path, or are Abby and Libby trying to figure out where a path is? Because what I don't hear the panic necessarily at that moment from them, although I hear something as she's running by, right? As Abby runs by, that's when she says something.
Well, and then when he says guys, some people say that she responds hi. I don't think she's saying hi. I think that's more of a, like being startled by him. She seems, to me, Abby in this video seems more concerned. Libby, we don't see her face. Her voice sounds very calm, but, you know, her family has also described her as somebody who would stay calm in a situation like that, and perhaps Abby might not have. You know, again, just the sadness of this video. This is the final minutes of these girls' lives. This is a story that I've certainly covered for 8 years. And yeah, it's sad to see this. It's sad to see this video.
So I think there's two ways to interpret the video. And originally, you know, this is the first time I'm seeing it, right? Tonight is the first time I'm seeing this video. But I always wondered, was the video, you know, to take a picture of my friend crossing the bridge, and she looks like she's gingerly crossing it. I mean, it's a very treacherous bridge. I would never walk over it myself. It's old, it's crickety, there's slats. You can see they redid it here, but when you look at the original bridge, I mean, that was not something that I would walk over myself. And I was wondering if the purpose of the video was to capture the moment of her, Abby, you know, crossing the bridge, and I was wondering if that's why they were separated, so one could take a picture of the other. But now I'm almost getting a different flavor for it, that maybe it was because of this man who was following them.
And I believe there was some sort of an interaction, some conversation that had these girls concerned that, you know, perhaps he said something to them like, you're not supposed to be here, and I'll show you how to get away to where you can be. We just don't know. None of that came out in Richard Allen's trial, any interaction prior to this video. And the state's case at trial was that if they can prove that Richard Allen is bridge guy, then they can prove that Richard Allen killed these two girls. And that's what the jury believed, is that that video shows Richard Allen.
Yeah, I was wondering if the voice was the bridge guy. I'm 1,000% convinced that it's the bridge guy just because of the proximity and everything else. But now the question is, you know, if there's a successful appeal, what happens then? But just seeing this at least gives us some idea of what Abby and Libby confronted in that moment by the bridge. Barbara McDonald, Court TV's senior producer, working overtime for us again. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I want to bring in our think tank. Joining us live in studio, criminal defense attorney Eklund Mercy and the man behind the glasses, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. What are you seeing in that video?
I'm seeing little girls who, there's this long bridge and there's this man behind them. They tried to walk faster to see if he's going to still be behind them, and then they tried to slow down to see if they would if he would go in front of them. I think that just the idea of having the video in general was them trying to protect themselves, to show like, hey, there's a guy behind us. And you can tell, you know, that they were really good friends, and she was like, hey, let me just take one for the team. Let's act like I'm taking a picture, to try to get the creepy man behind, you know, behind them. Unfortunately, this is a thing that happens with women, you know, little girls often, in which you're walking and somebody's walking behind you. You're going to try to at least speed up so there's more space between you. But if you think that they're following you, sometimes you just want them to go in front of you instead. So I think that that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And then it got
that's a tough spot, because the other side of that bridge, it's private property. You can't go there now, but it's not like very walkable. As they were saying, there's no real path. It's through the woods. What'd you see, Josh?
You know, what it really does is it makes me ask a bunch of new questions. Number one, why is this video being made? I'm very proudly a father and possessor of a child in this age range. They do everything consciously and purposefully. There's a choice involved. Little kids just don't randomly. No, there's a reason she turned on that camera. I've got so many questions about the interaction, because when I listen to that tone and voice, to me, it almost seems like they've spoken to this guy before. And I can see a situation wherein, hey, 20 minutes before, when they were walking down there, he yelled at him, hey, girls, stay off that bridge.
Yeah.
Some sort of warning.
And my understanding is he was hanging around that area, so they may have walked past him before they got on the bridge. It's not like they were walking and he was behind them the whole time. I think he was hanging out close to where that bridge was, or an area that they would perhaps pass him, and then he would follow them.
And the excitement of somebody new, is it like, if you surprise a child in this age, you can't miss it. There's noises, there's action. They're not good at hiding their motives at this age. They're going to be very raw with whatever they're going to express. And I'm not hearing overt fear.
Yeah, I wasn't hearing it either. Let's take another look and a listen to it. And again, you have to listen closely. Listen in the beginning. Is Abby whispering something to her friends? And do you hear anything about a mention of a gun? Because that's what prosecutors are saying, that the girls at some point may have mentioned something about a gun. I would listen closely at the moment when Abby runs past or walks past Libby, who has the camera.
See, this is the path that we are on. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
Then there's another question. Why do they stop recording at that moment? Because he's there, they don't want to get caught recording him? That could be, to me, that's a sign of being scared of this individual. Did you hear her say hi, or do you felt like she was startled by him?
You know, I'm not seeing surprise. I'm not seeing the startled, and that's why I believe they had some sort of knowledge that there was another person there before this immediate instant. Because if you're out in the woods and a random person just walks up, even as an adult, you're going to be startled. Startled is going to have a physiological reaction.
What's your interpretation of the discussion about the path, saying there's not a path down there, we have to go here? Is that their plan, just Abby and Libby? Or is it something that he mentioned, that I'm going to take you somewhere, and they're trying to figure out how to follow his directions?
I don't think a lot of people you don't know what you're going to do in a situation until you're in that situation. And fear looks different for everybody. So a lot of the times, especially like young girls or young children, you're assuming that they're going to be like, I'm scared, like, you know, in a movie, and it comes off as shutting down. It comes off as being submissive. It comes off as, you know, allowing authority. And you can see that they did enough, like they're, you know, they had enough courage to take the video, but as soon as he got closer, you can hear that their voices kind of are, you know, are lower.
Almost like frozen.
Yes, they're frozen.
They're modulating down, but I think what's important, listening to the volume, I don't think she's talking to the man on the bridge. I believe that that was a low-talking conversation.
To one another.
To one another, where it's, no, there's not a path down here. Because the gentleman, from looking at the video, I'm going to say is 10, 15 feet away when it begins, not long across the bridge. He's far closer than I really believe.
Right.
If they're going to talk with him and say, hey, there's not a path here.
It's going to be a little more elevated.
Yeah, it's different from, hey, no, there's not a path here.
How about the separation, that, you know, one is off the bridge first? Why is that? Now, I understand on that bridge why you wouldn't be right next to one another, because it's a relatively narrow, it's a long drop, again, scary, right? But it seems that there's some separation between these two. Do you think it's just a normal, we're walking over the bridge, you don't walk next to each other deal?
No, I think they were just trying to take a picture of him, and she took one for the team and kind of
stayed there.
Stayed there.
I think that's ascribing a lot of sophistication and fear, and while that absolutely is present, and different kids have different experiences with being ready, I think most kids by nature are a little bit more naive than that. And I don't see them being like, hey, let's make sure we get a picture in case this goes wrong, more than I'm making this video for some reason. And that's really my big question. Why does a child of this age turn on the video? There's a choice. And it could absolutely be, I'm trying to catch this guy. I need to record this guy. I'm not that cynical. I'm thinking there might be a different explanation.
All right, Think Tank staying with us. Wow, we're going to stay on this story, obviously, as more and more of the evidence in the case becomes public. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the disappearance of that student from the University of Pittsburgh down in the Dominican Republic. We'll get the latest on that, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Jeffrey Epstein back in the news as the public awaits the release of more documents and more information related to the convicted pedophile and his powerful friends and associates.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Doomsday Cult mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself.
On charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
The Cult Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage coming soon, only on Court TV.
This is Sudiksha Konanki, a student from the University of Pittsburgh, grew up in Virginia. She is missing down in the Dominican Republic, taking a spring break vacation with 5 other friends of hers. They're staying at a nice hotel, and then the power goes out in the hotel in the middle of the night. A bunch of folks head down towards the beach, and then she is gone. So there's a lot of developments happening in this case. So here to walk us through all of this is Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who joins us. Cody, what is the latest update today in the search?
Well, Vinny, the huge update today is that Joshua Ribe is the now named person of interest in what's now being called as the biggest search in the Dominican Republic's history. Now, who is Joshua Ribe? He is 22 years old. He's a student at St. Cloud University in Minnesota. And also, he is allegedly the last person to see Sudiksha alive on the morning of March 6th in those early morning hours at around 4 a.m. Now, a statement from Sudiksha's hometown sheriff was released that says Joshua Ribe, 22 of Iowa, is a person of interest in a missing person investigation. This is not at this time a criminal investigation, so to be clear, he is not a suspect. It is our understanding that he is a U.S. citizen who was vacationing in Punta Cana, not part of the traveling group with the missing person. A number of people have been interviewed by the Dominican National Police with the assistance of the FBI, and this is continuing. Our office will have a presence on the ground today, too. This particular individual may have been the last one to have seen her, so is of particular interest. Please note the term person of interest is one that we are using in collaboration with the FBI. I can't speak to any designation the local police may give him or others. And of course, Vinny, that is from Chad Quinn, the PIO of Loudoun County. Now, for those of you who may have forgotten what Joshua Ribe looks like, here's a video right here. Here's the crowd of people, the 4 girls. Right here, this guy in the back, that is Joshua, and this is Sudiksha as the crowd walks to the beach in those early morning hours. And we'll pause the video right here. And this right here is more of a close-up of the new person of interest that we are talking about, Joshua Ribe, 22 years old, allegedly the last person to see Sudiksha alive. And we have a clearer picture that we grabbed from his LinkedIn. This is also him right here. Again, the last person, he was one of the people in the group that was walking out to the beach in those early morning hours, on the beach around 5:50 a.m. when Sudiksha allegedly went missing.
Now, Cody, the thing that has struck, I think, all of us about Ribe is that there seems to be varying accounts or versions of what happened that night, right? So we see that he's with Sudiksha and, you know, has his arm around her, and they seem to be together. What are these different stories?
So, Vinny, as you mentioned, he is cooperating with the authorities, but there are 3 different stories that all have a common denominator that he's given the local authorities. The first story is that, you know, they were walking on the beach, they got in the water, there was a heavy wake, he swallowed a lot of water, got back up to shore, and then fell asleep drunk on a seat on the beach. The second story is that they were out in the water. He was a little sick from drinking all night. The rough wakes was kind of jostling him around. He got sick, went back up to the shore, and again, fell asleep on the beach, woke up, she wasn't there. And the third story is that the last he saw, they were having a good time on the beach, and she was wading around in knee-deep water, and he also, again, Vinny, fell asleep on the beach, woke up, and she wasn't there. So they all have a common denominator, all have nuances that all leave room for speculation, including speculation by her father, who has traveled down to the Dominican Republic and is asking for a deeper investigation into human trafficking and or kidnapping.
All right, Cody, I know you're going to stick around. You got some more information for us. Let's bring in our think tank right now. Still with us, criminal defense attorney, former federal, not still with us, but joining us. Michael Sterling is with us, and Eklund Mercy and Josh Schiffer still with us.
Did Dad really say human trafficking investigation?
Potentially.
We have a missing woman, and I appreciate that, but let's just think for a minute about this poor gentleman, Mr. Ribe. He was on a vacation at a resort, drunk in the middle of the night. They all go down to the beach. He's out there, goes to sleep drunk, and a girl he was with is missing.
Wait, the girl that he was with, first of all, not a girl, it was the girl. They were together, number one. Number two, they go into the water, and then he falls asleep. So he is saying that he has no idea what happened to her. In one version, there was a big wave, and he, you know, was struggling a little bit, got ashore, and just fell asleep. How about if there's a big wave and you're struggling, are you going to check on her?
I haven't had a drink since 2008, but I'll start again just so that I can show you. You don't remember stuff great when we have totally legal intoxicating materials. It doesn't make for false statements. It doesn't make for hiding. Come on now, Mr. Former Federal Prosecutor.
Yeah, no, listen, I got to agree with Josh on this one at least a little bit. Like, Vinny, alcohol, clearly the common denominator in all 3 of his stories was that he was really drunk.
Well, the common denominator is also that I don't know what happened to her.
And that he fell asleep. Right?
And I fell asleep.
Right, so what we know for sure is that he walked with her, right? Because we can see that on the video. They walked alone to the beach. We know that for sure. We know that he's admitted that he was drunk. They were all drinking, and we know that he fell asleep. And then there are other variations of the story between those. So the question really becomes, Vinny, what happens in that period of time where they go to the beach? Does she get in the water? Do they get in the water together? Does he pass out?
I think in all of them, they're both in the water. The variance is, why does he leave the water? In one scenario, it's because there was a big wave. Another one, he was feeling nauseous. And then in the other one, he just left the water and she was just splashing around in the knee-deep water.
And he may not remember, Vinny. I mean, he's a college student.
Well, if you don't remember, can you say, I don't remember?
You could, or you could be trying your best to recall to be helpful to the authorities since he's cooperating.
Remember, the authorities are specifically trained in highly coercive interviewing
Eklund
techniques.
is being suspiciously quiet. Let's listen to Eklund for a moment. You have an opinion. I know you have an opinion.
I do have an opinion. I think that, so here's the thing. If we're drinking, then he would have said that they both were drinking, right? Then if they were drinking, they were, they were drunk. You don't just become drunk, right? It's a slow, it's a steady rise. Then you're in the water with her, right? And if we don't, it's at a resort. So we're going to have recordings. We're going to hear, hey, where did she go? Where did you go? What happened? I can't see her. Even if you're drunk, even if you're pissed, even if you're really bad, you're going to say something or acknowledge the presence or lack of presence of somebody that you're dealing with. And we don't have any of that.
Yeah. And I think the reason the father's saying trafficking is because he said he fell asleep and didn't know what happened. So now you've got a girl alone on a beach at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. So, I mean...
And I think he wakes up or at least he comes back like 3 or 4 hours later.
Right.
So it's...
After a snooze on the beach.
So it's at least reasonable that you fell into a drunken sleep. She was in the water. You don't know what happened. You come back to your room. He may have thought she just left him drunk, sleep on the beach, and returned to her room, and he may have been just as shocked as anybody else. I'm just saying that's plausible as well.
Absolutely is.
And there's no probable cause that he did anything. She's not there.
There's not even a criminal investigation. So we're not, but he's a person of interest because he's the last known person to be with her alone on the beach at 5 a.m. And he just fell asleep and can't answer the questions.
The good thing is that he is fully cooperating, answering questions, or at least trying his best to remember what happened in his drunken stupor.
All right, stay where you are. We've got more to get to. We're going to break down the surveillance video when we come back.
In a lot of my classes, some teachers have mentioned things because obviously it's like weighing on everyone. I keep seeing it on TikTok, on like national news, just small creators. Like people are posting about it. It's clearly a big thing. A lot of people go to Punta Cana, not just Pitt. So.
Did you hear that? I guess there's new surveillance video of her and another man walking away.
Yeah, I did hear that she was with someone and nobody knows who it was. And yeah, it's just unfortunate.
And like most cases these days, there is surveillance video. There's a lot of it. And there's not of them on the beach, but on their way there and back and forth. So back with us to walk through all of this, Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Let's break down this video.
Absolutely, Vinny, and we got to begin at the beginning of this morning, I should say night, but morning, around 4:15 a.m. This video, of course, was given to us by Noticias Sin, the local network down in the Dominican Republic. This right here is the group headed out to the beach at around that time. Of course, these other members that are blurred out are members of the friend group, but this woman right here, that is the missing woman, Sudiksha Konanki, and right here, a little covered up by the 4:15, that is Joshua Ribe, allegedly the last man to see her alive that morning. Now, if we move right along, we'll see that this is a couple, not Joshua Ribe and not Sudiksha. This is a couple that was in the group walking out to the beach around that same time, and if we go further ahead, we will see these two, that is Ribe, and that is Sudiksha Konanki walking out to the beach at around 4:15 a.m., and these two are other members of the friend group. Now, as they go out there, we'll move along in the videos. This is around 4:45 a.m., so that's roughly 30 minutes later. We see those two girls who are in the back coming back to the hotel. Coming back, they're leaving Konanki and they're leaving Joshua Ribe out there. And we'll move along again in the surveillance. This is that other couple coming back to the hotel at around 5:05 a.m. Still no Konanki, still no Joshua Ribe. They left them out there on the beach. Now we move ahead just a little bit further. This is 8:52 a.m. This guy right here, that is Joshua Ribe coming back the morning. No Konanki inside, coming back to the hotel. And we remember all of the stories he gave authorities are that they were out there late on the beach and he fell asleep. So could he have fallen asleep? Could this be him waking up in the morning, coming back to the hotel? No shirt, no shoes, walking back. Vinny, lots of speculation left within this story, within this timeline. And obviously the girl is missing. And it's kind of weird that he would not think, you know, maybe she was back at the hotel, maybe call authorities, but it seems like he was coming back nonchalantly. But that is everything to do with that timeline. Everyone came back, but no Konanki.
So that last picture that you had with the, so no shirt?
No shirt. We can bring it back up here, right here in a second. No shirt, no shoes. Coming back again almost 9 in the morning, hours after Konanki was, or when they were on the beach at around 5 a.m., going on 6 a.m. when everyone was coming back to the hotel.
Interesting. All right. Cody Thomas, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. Let's bring back in our think tank. Still with us, Michael Sterling, Eklund Mercy, and Josh Schiffer. All right. So they're clearly a couple at that moment for that night or whatever, right? In that moment, they're together. It's not, you know, they just happen to be walking next to each other. No, they're together.
Yeah, I agree with that, Vinny. I think that they, you know, they hit it off.
Why doesn't he have a shirt coming back?
It's the vacation, man.
He was on the beach, I assume.
Does that mean he was in, is that consistent with him being in the water, maybe?
I think that's possible. I think that's totally possible. But also, it's possible that you're in Punta Cana, you're hot, you're on the beach, you know, you're not.
Now, did she jump in with all her clothes on? Do we know?
We don't know, Vinny.
We don't know that, do we?
We don't know.
That'd be good information to have. Like if he's taking his shirt, is she wearing her clothes when she's jumping in the water?
I think there's going to be other questions that are critical to the investigation, right? Is there anything of her belongings that he brings back, right? Is there any DNA evidence on him of her in any way that would resemble a struggle? Is there anything on him that could present a struggle? I think that we really need to dive deeper and look at more evidence, Vinny, because I think if there's going to be an investigation as to whether or not he did anything, I know it's not a criminal investigation yet, but if there's going to be an investigation as to whether he did something untoward or something criminal in nature, we're going to have to look at, is there any evidence that demonstrates a struggle of any kind, DNA evidence, anything under his fingernails, anything, any of her belongings that he takes back, anything like that that could implicate him further in terms of her being missing.
I don't know why she would stay in the water without him.
I can write 1,000 compelling stories.
Was this really about going to take a dip, or was this to go hang out with some young man that I met? What was this about? What was this trip to the beach about?
Here's ask the girl.
I am.
All right. One of the things that unfortunately happens, if I was a prosecutor in this case, I would check Ribe's YouTube history and all of that just to see if he's gotten any red pill content, just to make sure how he deals with women and deals with rejection. What we can see is that, hey, he didn't have his shirt on. It could be a thing of like being brushed off, or like, hey, we don't want to do this. The reason why I say that is because it was around 4-something in which the blackout happened. And then if he got so drunk and he fell asleep, then we're seeing sunburns. We're seeing sunburns in the way in where he is laying down. The issue is that he is on a resort. They're not gonna put umbrellas at night. It is just them outside. And you're telling me around 4 o'clock, and then when the sun is their highest, he came back at 8:55.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m.
8 a.m. So what I'm saying,
I don't know what time the sun rises.
That's what I'm saying, 4 a.m. From 4 a.m. to 8-something a.m.
It's about 9.
And
it's about 9 he's on the beach.
From 9, and when the sun is directly on, and we don't have any type of burn, and there's no shirt, all of that, plus
he is fully, like, he has
Looks like they're taking selfies right there.
He has sneakers.
That looks like a selfie.
Yes.
He has sneakers and socks. Something happened. A conversation needs to be had, but something happened, and it probably is a situation.
I want to see his shirt. I want to see the shirt. I want to see his shirt, Josh.
The issue is that
I want to see his shirt.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why he's not wearing it. Could be because he took a dip.
It could be that it's messy, ripped, torn, lost. It lost it in the ocean. There's a million stories we can tell, but here's the important part and why this isn't a crime yet. It's completely unsupported. There's not probable cause that he did anything.
Should they ask for
wake up
to scrape his fingernails?
If they wanted to, but guess what? That didn't happen. The physical evidence that Eklund's talking about, any burns,
Let me ask you this.
Gone.
Let me ask you this. You know, sometimes these vacation islands don't want the bad publicity, right?
Yes.
This is different than Natalie Holloway because this isn't like a local attacking a visitor. These are two people visiting the island. So, should we trust their investigation?
It's going to depend on who is heading and how thorough the investigation is. As I understand DR law and USVI, where we have an office, is right nearby. There are different levels of investigations, and there's a highly protective political movement for these resorts. You've got to protect that big tourism money. That would be a big reason to manipulate an investigation.
Well, which is worse for the resort? Like someone attacking someone or someone drowning in your waters? Which is worse? I think they're both bad. I don't know which is worse, but we're out of time. Thank you so much. Great to have you aboard. Michael Sterling, Eklund Mercy, Josh Schiffer, and the smoke in the background. All right, when we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Jeffrey Epstein may be dead, but the controversy lives on. And now the public is waiting for the Department of Justice to release all the Epstein files. What can we expect, and when should we expect it? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story.
Monica Cementelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cementelli.
The Celebrity Stylist Murder Trial, weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Take a look. Hit with charges. Alayla Everett facing assault and battery charges after this track meet where, her baton hits the head of her opponent who had just passed her on the second lane. Watch it again. There's a little bit of contact, then boom. The victim in that meet did sustain head injuries as a result. So this is, it's now in the criminal courts. It's rare when we go from the athletic competition, field of play, into a courtroom, but that will be the future for Alayla Everett, who said it was all an accident, that she lost her balance. All right, please take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Miley Mosley. She's just 15 years old, missing out of Reading, Pennsylvania since March 11th. This is what you can do. If you see Miley, take a look at the picture. If you see her, make a call, make a difference. You can call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Reading Police Department in Pennsylvania. That phone number is on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Miley to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.